What's up, everybody? Kyle Barboza here, bass player, music educator, and we're talking about vibrato today, which is a technique that I think is largely slept on by bass players, and that can take you kind of to the next level in your sound, I think. On one hand, I think that a shaky, uneven vibrato, something like this, or that I hear from a lot of bass players, unfortunately, I think that's pretty off-putting to your sound. But a smooth, even vibrato can make you sound much more professional. So, if you've got kind of a shaky vibrato, I'm going to help you out with making it a little more natural sounding and a little smoother. Let's go over 3 different types of bass vibrato and how to practice them and what the keys are to making them sound good. The first one that we're going to tackle is what I would call like an orchestral vibrato or maybe like a cello vibrato. And it's this one. Right, that kind of vibrato and that kind of movement. This vibrato on fretted bass is pretty subtle. But on upright bass and fretless bass, this is kind of the main vibrato you would use. And on those instruments, it's less subtle because the movement of your finger rocking back and forth like this is actually changing where you're pressing the string down by a couple millimeters, and that makes quite a bit of difference in your sound. But on fretted bass, I have to confess, I don't know why or how this works. And if you can tell me how this actually affects the sound of the string, let me know in the comments. I can't actually figure out what's affecting the string. Is it bending up and down subtly? I feel really dumb about that. I came to this lesson thinking, oh yeah, I'll figure out how it changes the string. I'll be able to explain it. I can't actually figure it out, so let me know. Anyway, enough of me sounding like a dummy. This vibrato is really nice and subtle, and when you're playing melodies, it can add a really nice, subtle touch to your playing. How to do this smoothly, though, is a little bit of a challenge. But the wrist movement itself that's involved in this vibrato is actually just a simple rotation like this. Okay, if you want to think about it as like the kind of like parade wave motion, that's the rotation. Okay, and to practice that movement, to start, you can do this movement on its own in your free time. And what I would say is if you can do this movement smooth at a slow speed and then speed it up and maintain that smoothness, you're well on your way to making this sound great. Now, when you take that movement and you put it on the bass, so let's go to a E flat here on the G string with my second finger. When you get that movement on the bass, that rotation, you'll notice that it invites your forearm and your arm to move a little bit, and that's fine. But the number one culprit of sounding bad on this vibrato is tension. And it's tension in your hand and tension in your forearm. And if you notice that you have a lot of tension there, try to loosen things up when you practice this, and that will already start to improve things. And that's going to be a theme on all these different vibratos, is going to be tension that's going to get in the way of making you sound good, okay? So when you practice this, you can actually practice it in rhythm, and that'll help you out. So kind of like a speed, maybe like ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. Right? I'm not getting much sound out of it that way at that speed, but you'll notice it's making sure that I'm staying nice and smooth and even with my movement. Now when I take that and I work it up a little faster, even faster, on all 4 of my fingers, I'll start to hear that subtle change in the sound, and it'll be nice and even. Now, if you like this sound a little faster, like a lot of cellists like to do this one, or classical bassists like to do this one pretty fast, that's fine too, if you like that sound. I mean, it sounds really good if you're playing like a minor kind of melody, It's got a little bit of intensity to it. The key, again, is when you first start it, make sure your fingers aren't tense, your forearm's not tense. That's the key. But if you want to get a little more sound out of this vibrato, when you start to get used to it and start to be able to control it, you can start pressing with your finger a little more, and that will get a little more out of it, okay? So this is with a nice loose finger, nice subtle change in the sound. If I press into it a little more, I'm getting a little more of a wah, 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 wah sound out of it, and that can sound really good. The next one we're going to talk about is a bend vibrato. Basically the type of vibrato you hear from electric guitar players. One like this. Okay, and this one is not as subtle, all right? I like to use this one quite a bit, though. And on every string except the G string and the E string, well, okay, so on the two on the two middle strings, you can move this one up or down, whatever's comfortable, all right? And I use both at different times. I don't really think about it very much. But again, the key to this one is relaxing the muscles that are involved, okay? So on this one, the culprit, the tension culprit, that gets you this kind of shaky sound that I hear a lot is if you notice that your chest and your biceps here, like your upper arms, are tensing up while you're doing this, like flexing, that's what's going to get you that shaky, off-putting sound. Okay, so relax those muscles a lot. And again, you can practice this one in rhythm and it'll make it sound a lot smoother. So a slow rhythm like do-ah, 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 do-ah. Right, I'm just bending it a little bit. All right, and I'll go down here on the A string. I'm using my fingers, right? I'm getting a little of this motion on this vibrato, and I'm also getting a little bit of arm motion, okay? But it's smooth, it's comfortable, and it's relaxed. Another thing about this vibrato is, so if you can picture the string on its plane, right? When you bend it up or down, whatever direction you're going, you want to return to the plane, okay? Like that. If you don't go all the way, it's going to sound kind of off-putting, and if you go too far, it's going to sound uneven, okay? So always returning to the plane. Really pay attention to that when you're practicing it. So right, this one you can get a little more out of on the electric bass. You want to be careful that you don't get it too like, oh, you know what I mean? Like make it sound like an opera singer. That can sound ridiculous. But, you know, bring this one to taste. Bend it to where you think it sounds good and at the speed that you like, okay? I kind of like basically the same speed for everything, no matter what the tempo, if I'm playing a melody. I kind of like a little bit of a slower speed on this one like that, but smooth, relaxed, okay? The third one we're going to talk about is definitely not subtle. It's a very aggressive type of vibrato, and I would call this one a trill vibrato. And by trill vibrato, I mean that we're actually kind of trilling notes a half step apart. A trill on the bass is like when you do a hammer-on really fast, or a trill in music in general is this kind of sound. Right? It's going finger to finger really fast. A trill vibrato is when you do that with the same finger, going across the frets like this. Okay, and this one sounds really cool in like funk bass lines. Right? That can sound really good. It also can be overdone. I like to use this one a lot, and I find myself overdoing it every once in a while, and I have to check myself on that. But practicing this one, again, I would practice this in a rhythm at first. All three of these vibratos, you don't want to be thinking about rhythm while you're doing them. You just want to do them naturally. But when you practice them to an actual rhythm, it's making you play them a little more even, at an even speed, and getting used to playing them at an even intensity, okay? So that's why we're practicing them in rhythm. And the way I would practice this one is I would actually trill between two fingers. Let's take a D and E flat here. I would trill maybe like a 16th note trill, right? First at slow, like that, and then do the trill with the finger. Go back and forth. Right, when you get faster. So get a little faster at a time. I just like kind of skipped the line there, but right, do it 6 times in a row, or do a triplet with it. Then do like an 8th tuplet here, like 30-second notes. Right? Do it with all your fingers. To get that even sound. The other key to this vibrato is making sure that your fingers are up against the fret when you're fingering notes. This goes for when you're always playing bass. This has like awesome implications for your bass playing. If you can get used to putting your fingers up against the frets, it makes you sound a lot better. But on this vibrato, it's very important because you want to be moving as little of a distance as possible. So if you're up against the fret, all you got to do is move a little bit to get to the next fret, right? So that's why you want to make sure you're doing that. Another, like once you get good at this vibrato, another thing that you can do with it is just to turn the notes one time. That is, go to the next note and back one time. And that's called a turn, I believe. That's not quite a turn in music. Someone tell me what the phrase is for that when you do this. Just once. I'm forgetting it right now. Anyway, but you can kind of get a turn effect like that when you do this, and it sounds really cool in fills. Check it out. If I play like a pentatonic fill like this, right? And I add a turn in there, check it out. Right? I'm getting one time and then moving on with my fill. Right? Okay, so you do it for a real short little turn there. It can dress up your fills really nice. Check out 2 vibratos on 1 fill. Right? Dressing up that long note with a little bit of bend vibrato. Just giving it a little bit of flavor. These can really make your bass playing sound a little more lyrical, a little more vocal, natural. I think vibrato is really important. So let me know how you guys do with this. Let me know if you got anything out of it in the comments. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one.